Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another long coffee break. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host today, JD Meadows. I've been with Long for 11 years and currently hold the role of project manager in our Northern Colorado office. Today, my co-host is Mr. Jacob McVeigh, the assistant division manager for our friends at Monoxivent. Today, we're going to briefly touch base on source capture systems. With that being said, I'm going to turn this over to my good friend, Jacob McVeigh. Jacob, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, JD. So as he mentioned, we're going to briefly touch on all things source capture. So we want to get into a little more detail, a little farther down the line here, where we'll get more in depth on how to design a source capture system. So today, I just kind of want to introduce you guys to the source capture market and what we can provide and the reasons that we provide what we do. So a little bit about Monoxivent. So we are located in Rock Island, Illinois. So we're right on the Mississippi River. We've been in business since 1953. So in the 80s, we moved to Rock Island. And then in the year 2000, Monoxivent was purchased by Crawford Company. And I'll get into what Crawford Company brings to Monoxivent a little bit later on in this presentation. But as you can see here, source capture systems, most people think of vehicle exhaust or welding exhaust capture. There's a few different things also that we will get into that you may not think about every day. So first off, source capture. What we're trying to do is we are trying to capture the particulate or the vehicle exhaust at the source before it enters the breathing zone. So in a lot of applications, people think about putting an overhead hood above like a welding table. But what you're actually doing in those circumstances is just taking those fumes, putting them into the breathing zone before they get exhausted outside. So what we're trying to do is eliminate that while also minimizing the amount of exhaust air that's required to exit the building. So as you know, vehicle exhaust is a noxious fume. You wouldn't run your cars indoors with the door closed, as well as for welding. So welding on stainless steel is a known carcinogen. So that hexavalent chromium will be a cancer-causing agent. Code does require source capture systems in areas for where vehicles are running indoors. Not like a parking garage, the code actually reads so that anywhere where a vehicle is sitting stationary, that a source capture system will be required. And then as well, OSHA outlines that hexavalent chromium is a known carcinogen. So they're going to recommend that you have a source capture system installed in that building space. So areas where you might find a source capture system, this is a great example here. This photo is actually a trade school. It's a community college where they're training techs to work on vehicles before they enter the workplace. So this one actually had motorized hose reels installed, and other areas you may find them, military applications, as well as like generator stations, public works facilities where they're working on anything from small engines up to larger diesel engines. I do want to briefly just mention that you'll see source capture systems in fire stations. Monoxivent actually left this market about 15 years ago. It's kind of become a saturated market, so we decided to put our efforts elsewhere, but I just wanted to briefly touch on that. But then also the other half of our business is for source capture in like welding environments, as I mentioned before, but also laboratories, pharmaceutical, and then manufacturing plants. So first off is our our main product that we see most on day to day is our spring hose reels. So these are available in 4, 5, 6, and 8-inch diameter. The main purpose of this reel is to get that hose stored up off of the floor. So you'll see that throughout here in the different systems that I'm going to run through. But we can do a wide variety of different hoses on these reels. Shown here is our 5,000, 4,000 hose on the right. And then next up, we got our motorized reels. So same principle, but if you have a high bay application where that hose may need to be out of reach because you have an overhead crane that's traveling back and forth, we can motorize the reel to run that hose down to be able to connect it up. These are what we call our 9,000 reel as well. So they're available in 4, 5, 6, 8-inch diameter. We can provide a direct mount fan directly mounted to that hose reel, as well as we can provide a damper, or we can also provide what we call a DMS-HR switch. So it's a direct mount switch to the hose reel. And what this does is it's a low voltage switch, and it'll toggle up the switch on and off when the hose is pulled down to automatically start either the D series direct mount blower or a central blower. Then we have our XL series hose reels. So Monoxivent looks at our engines as if they are just an air pump.
So I jumped on and they're like, oh, someone from mechanicals on here.
The engine being an air pump, depending on the size of the cylinder and then the RPM, the more exhaust air that's going to be traveling out. This is where we get into our XL reels. When you have a large diesel engine that will be running at a higher RPM and maybe a little bit higher temperature as well, maybe running on a dynamometer. We've got reels up to 18-inch diameter and 80 feet in length. This was a project that we did at Fort Lee. It was a military one where they're actually training technicians to work on tanks. So this one required that higher temperature hose as well as large diameter because the amount of exhaust air that's traveling out. So we're trying to capture about 20% ambient air to cool that exhaust air as it's entering the system as well. Next, we've got our 11,000 series drops, and same principle, storing that hose up out of the way, just a little bit more cost-effective way of doing it. This is actually utilizing a cable balancer to support the hose. The operator walks over, pulls the hose down, hooks it up, and then can retract it after he's finished. Then on the right side is our pack. So a pack is a pivoting articulated crane. It's got a wall articulation as well as a center articulation. And we can do lengths from 10 to 20 feet, 6 and 8-inch diameter, and then can be customized as well. Here we have a swivel boom. So this one eliminates that center articulation. So it just has articulation at the wall, available in 7, 10, and 13-foot lengths. Again, 6 and 8-inch diameter. We can do these as well with a fume arm, so you'll see that later on. RTS drop on the right side is our simple system for cars and light trucks. So this is a 5-inch hose with a 4-inch hose and a 3-inch hose all sliding inside of each other to store that hose. The end hose is a neoprene rubber, so if it gets driven over or stepped on, it'll retain its shape. But this system is about 150 CFM max, so it's again used for just a car or truck at idle conditions. Next, then we've got our Eliminator. So these are a portable exhaust system. So this is an all-encompassing where we've got the fan, we've got a cable reel to plug in to be able to run the system. And you can see it's got a vertical stack, so it can connect up to a vertical stack truck, or it's got a center coupling there where you can disconnect it and connect it to a under chassis vehicle as well. We've got a wide variety of different tailpipe adapters available to fit whatever vehicle you may need. The discharge hose, you can either run it out through the door or you can run it out through a door/wall port. But this is great for an option where maybe they don't have a designated bay where they're going to be servicing their vehicles. Underground systems have been around since the 50s. These are systems where maybe they don't want to have a hose out, but they want to be able to have that exhaust system. This is a way for them to be able to store the hose underground, pull it out when they need it, and then place it back. Typically, these are seen in dealerships. Next, we'll get into our Norfolk Rail system. So this is kind of the latest innovative product for source capture systems. And this is used in applications where maybe you have 8 bays, but not all 8 bays are going to need a hose reel at the same time. This allows the operator to be able to share hose reels between multiple vehicles. And then at the same time, it also reduces the amount of exhaust air that has to be emitted from the building. So what you have is an aluminum rail, and it has a channel. And the hose reel itself has a canoe-shaped trolley that slides back and forth on this rail. And when the fan is on and under negative pressure, there's neoprene rubber lips that seal that exhaust air inside of there. So you can see where this would be a great opportunity to be able to cut down on the amount of exhaust being emitted out of that building, which then requires less makeup air. To get in briefly here, different hoses we have available. Series 4000 and 5000 are two of our most common, 4000 being that for diesel exhaust rated to 600 degrees and 5000 up to 350 degrees, typically used for cars and trucks. We do have high temperature hoses up to 2010 degrees. If you've got an application where vehicles get into a dynamometer or regeneration where they're burning off that exhaust particulate, and you're doing that test indoors, we do have hoses up to 2000 degrees. That's it for vehicle exhaust. I'm going to get briefly here on fume exhaust capture. So this is for welding or a particulate. Sure, you've probably seen before source capture arms. Monoxivent's got a wide variety of different arms available. This one here that I'm highlighting is our 15,000 series arm. It's an internally supported arm. So you've got an internal skeleton you can see on the right there, 3 pivot points to be able to keep that stored in the location that the operator needs it to be. This has a polycarbonate hood. We can do a stainless steel hood as well. It's got a damper built into the hood. We can also provide a screen or a light if necessary. We've got lengths from 5 feet up to 26 feet, 4, 5, 6, and 8-inch diameter as well. Next, we've got our mini arms. So mini arms are used for pharmaceutical or laboratory environments, or maybe where they're doing some soldering, where not a lot of exhaust air is required, but they do require a source capture system. These have a corrosion resistance, and then as well as multiple different hoods available. You can do it a ceiling mount, a benchtop mount, or a wall mount. Here we have custom hoods that Monoxivent can offer. So this is where kind of Crawford comes into play. They're a custom fabrication company. So with Monoxivent being a part of Crawford Company, it really opens the doors to a lot of different avenues. So if you've got a need for a slotted fume hood or a custom overhead hood, we can certainly supply you with what you need. You can find on our website submittal sheets that can be filled out. Get those over to your long representative, and they can get it over to us, and we can make that happen for you. Next, then we've got our portable systems. So these are for fume exhaust. It's got a filter built into the unit as well as a fan. So these are great when you have, again, a location where you don't have a designated work area or you need to take a system off site. Our PCFS unit is a cartridge filter, or our HEPA unit is a HEPA filter. You can also get that with a carbon as well if you've got an odor that you're trying to scrub out. But if you're doing that stainless steel welding, you definitely want to get that HEPA filter installed in there. Briefly, I'm going to just touch here on cyclone units. So Monoxivent does offer cyclone collectors. These are used for wood or a metal particulate. We can do just the cyclone as a standalone, or in the center there, you can see we can provide an after filter as well. So these have tubes installed in there. On the right side, you can see that they have a cover around the filter. But that's kind of a brief overview on source capture systems and what Monoxivent has to offer. Again, I appreciate you guys taking the time with me today. I want to get into more detail, so look forward to doing this again down the road. With that, over to you, JD.
Awesome. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate you taking the time to help us out with this presentation. If anybody has any questions about the wide variety of options that Monoxivent has to offer, please reach out to your local long representative. We can get those questions answered for you, get you in touch with Monoxivent. And then also don't forget to join us next Thursday, where Mr. Ryan Nabalski and Mr. Brian Feudgate will be presenting sleek and sexy blower coils. So thanks again for everybody joining, and enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great day.